All right. So, good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you may be. This is another live of the Dead Artist Society. My name is Yonatan. I am your host, and I am really delighted to be accompanied by my dear friend Luke Travers here from Touching the Art. We are going to be discussing today a very, very interesting artist. I think one of the most interesting ever. And we're looking forward to hearing the audiences, your comments as well. Hopefully we'll be having an interactive discussion here. Luke, good morning. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Yonatan, and good afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world, everybody. I'm excited to be discussing Pieter Bruegel, the Elder, with you, and um, I I was really excited to see that you wrote an article about him on your Substack, and I have been fascinated by Pieter Bruegel, not all my life, but pretty recently started getting to understand him a little bit better, to see this really distinctive voice. And he's not one that I think a lot of people who enjoy heroic art or grand epic
Yeah.
art go to. So to see you write about him was really intriguing. And for you now to say this is like one of the most interesting artists in the history of the world, I'm fascinated to hear more. So can I ask you, Jonathan, like I always do,
Yes. Yes, please.
what, why did you pick Pieter Bruegel the Elder?
That's a great question, Luke. I remember coming across his art in various art museums whenever I had the chance to visit. Most particularly is the Vienna, the Kunsthistorisches Museum. You've been there, Luke. Anyone who is around or ever traveling to Austria has to go there. It's a temple for art. And it had a room full of them, full of so much Pieter Bruegels. And I remember always being fascinated by these images. I was studying art history. I was in art history class, and they were always the most famous example was the Peasant Wedding. It's a very, very famous painting, and one of the points was that it's very important because this is the first time where they depict a painter depicted the working class and not just their mythological stuff or biblical stuff. And that was always the point made about Bruegel. But I always thought, what's the deal with these ugly peasants? Why do we need them?
That's
You know?
just so judgmental of you, Jonathan.
Well, they are ugly, and I think he made them deliberately ugly.
Hmm.
In many such examples, specifically in the Peasant's Wedding, which is not the painting we're going to discuss today, by the way. At least not, I did not bring it up. Perhaps we should later, but we'll see. So I was fascinated by that, and when I really started to learn more about the history, and especially to contrast Bruegel with his contemporaries, painters like Titian or Caravaggio from the Italian High Renaissance, to think about, and he was a very educated person. We don't know much about him, but we know he was an intellectual. He was not a peasant, right? He was a smart, he was traveled, he's been to Rome, he's been to Florence, he has seen the great Italian Renaissance, and he was living during that time. So imagine a painter going to the capital of Europe, the capital of art in Europe, seeing all the amazing, the Raphaels, seeing the Caravaggios, and then going to paint something completely different, something that has nothing to do with these, something that is actually connected to life, something that is about people that have never been depicted, virtually have never been depicted in art. What explains that? What made you and I don't think we have the exact historical answers why he was so interested in the peasants. I'm not aware of that, but something about that is fascinating. Imagine we're both objectivists, so imagine Howard Work. He had his own vision. right? He thought buildings are to be made in the according to this. He has seen everything. He has been to the academy, right? He has seen the way architecture is supposed to be, and he's saying no, it needs to be completely different. So I saw that quality in Bruegel, and I or Bruegel, and I wanted to explore that deeper. I think that was the what was fascinating to him, and I wanted to write about it because the way I learn is through writing, and so through the essay, I got to explore the deeper meanings behind his art, and I think a phenomenal achievement that has really influenced so much later artists, such as Vermeer, for example. You could not have Vermeer without Bruegel. You could not have Caspar David Friedrich behind me without Bruegel, because Bruegel was such a pioneer of landscapes as well.
So it's this distinctive voice that he has that you see him holding on to and deliberately define other trends in the art world. The heroism of Michelangelo that he probably saw in Rome, and Caravaggio, the drama of Caravaggio. And those things, he's saying, no, I don't want to paint those things. So that kind of independence that he's exhibiting and being dedicated to his own particular kind of voice is the thing that you admired. All right, I'm excited to see what artwork you picked out.
All right. Any comments about your experience with Bruegel before, Luke? I'm also curious. You said you were also fascinated by him, but it's a controversial thing to say, right? So maybe you can give the viewers some context.
Well, I'll give a little bit here, and then I'll save for a little bit for the artwork that I've picked out and after the artwork, because I would say that most of my experience with Bruegel is not really inspiring. But what I do appreciate is that there is a very distinctive worldview that he has. And I like to imagine sometimes that there are the artists that are on my shoulder who are contributing to different worldviews to my own. I can imagine myself in a Goya worldview, or in a Vermeer worldview, or a Bouguereau worldview. And then there's definitely Bruegel there. There's definitely Bruegel as a distinctive way of looking at people and the world, and of looking at values in life. And I'll give this teaser. Even though a lot of the artworks of his I'm not too excited about, or sometimes I cringe a little bit, there are some that have these subtle moments that are genuine, that are sincere, and that I think are really beautiful.
Okay, that's exciting. So let us go right into the first example, which is this: the hunters.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give it an initial title, and I'm going to call it "Trudging Through the Snow."
Trudging through the snow.
Oh, I'm immediately thinking of the painting you first picked out, Yonatan, for Caspar David Friedrich, of that figure in the snow, the dark sky, on our first episode of yeah. So if you're here in the chat and joining us, or if you're just watching this on your own afterwards, what would be your first title for this? Okay.
Yes, please. My first title would be "A Day in the Snow," a day in the village in the snow. That's what we see here.
All right.
I think so. Yeah.
A day in the village in the snow.
Something
okay,
like
so
that, yeah.
There is a village, and it's a village that kind of is perched halfway on a hill, and then a lot of it is at the bottom of the hill. And then there are these two frozen ponds at the bottom of the hill, filled with people. And it looks like they might be doing some kind of fun activities on the ice there. Like
yeah, we have ice skating. They're definitely, there are children there playing, right, running. I can zoom here. You can see the children playing. They're playing hockey.
Is it? Yeah. There's like hockey games. They had hockey back in the 1500s?
Apparently,
and then some kind of curling. Is that curling I'm seeing? And how many dogs? There are a couple of dogs, at least one dog, and there's a trio of coordinated ice skaters as they're kind of doing some kind of figure skating.
Yeah,
Oh, and I
yeah,
like there's some dancers too. So it looks like a pretty good time down
yeah.
there.
There's life. There's life. It's a small village. It's simple setting, but it's filled with life. People are living,
I
and
wonder, Yonatan, what sounds would you hear if you were down there?
I would hear laughs. I would hear screams. I would hear um, yelling at each other. About the game.
Yeah.
A lot of chatter. You would hear the winds of the snow. You would feel the cold. But
And
perhaps you won't.
yeah, the sound also of like the ice skates going across the ice
Yeah, I
there,
don't like that
mingled with
sound.
the laughter. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like what is it? Rockefeller Center in New York City, where you have the ice rink in front. I don't know if you know about this, but I think a lot of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Americans
yeah, yeah, yeah.
do, where it's just like in the middle of the city, everybody's gathering around to do some ice skating.
Yeah, exactly.
All
So,
right.
uh, as I look at this, and one of the lessons I think I learned that's most important about art is you have to contrast it with other art. You have to compare. And I look at this, and on the face of it, let's say we don't know the year, we don't know anything, right? This is a very simple, mundane, ordinary type of scene, right?
Well, wait, Jonathan. Before we get too broad, what about the
Right.
people that are there, the with the dogs?
Right, right. They are the heroes. So the
Wait,
the
they are the heroes.
the painting
So
is
what I'm
called.
seeing,
Yeah.
I'm seeing a I'm seeing a pack of dogs that look pretty miserable.
Yeah.
They all
Let's
have their
zoom here.
tails down.
Yeah.
Uh, and then they all have their heads down and their ears are lowered and and look at how deep that snow is. It's not so deep, but still
Yeah,
for a
it's pretty
dog with
deep.
the little legs,
Yeah.
it's like they're kind of I push play in the scene and they're like moping through the snow very slowly. It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
different. It's so different from the skaters. Like the skaters are zooming across that ice,
Yeah. There's a contrast there, right? Right.
and then
This. What
you
what I
call
what I
them
s-
heroes.
Yeah, they're
Wait,
heroes because they make that possible. These hunters, they make it possible for the children to ice skate on the pond.
oh, but this time it doesn't look like they've got much. I mean, I think I see they're trudging through the snow.
Yeah.
One of them might have like a fox on his back,
Right.
but that's it. Everybody looks like they
Well,
well,
perhaps
they're
it
not
was a
really, they don't
bad
look
hunt.
glad to be back. What's that, Jonathan?
They perhaps they look sad because the hunt wasn't successful. Perhaps what I'm also seeing here, Luke, is pay attention to the birds. The crows. Crows, they signify danger, right? They it's about death. Black crows. And perhaps what we are seeing here is a sign of bad news coming to the village. The hunt wasn't successful, and we cannot continue having these fun games. We are all in
What?
danger.
What? No, that's terrible news to receive.
Yeah, it is. You see
But
the
okay, all
women
right.
here scrambling to make some. Is that wheat? Yeah, they're scrambling to make something, but perhaps food is scarce. We are in the snow. It's dangerous. It's cold.
Maybe, but the people that are down there like skating, they're fine. They seem well fed. They've got energy to burn.
Well, perhaps yesterday they've had good food, but today does not bring good fortune.
Okay. All right. Well, there are a lot of dogs there, but I don't know that this is like a hunting party for the whole village that's coming by and like, oh, and bringing. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to starve for the next 10 days because we could not find it. That doesn't seem that way, right?
Well, perhaps there are other parties that we don't see. I imagine there
Yeah,
are
that's my
many.
guess, right?
I would
It's a
ima-
pretty big village.
it is a sizable village, and you see there's another one here in the distance, right? You see
Oh,
that?
wow. Yeah.
And look at the level of detail in Bruegel. It's something. It's one of the most important qualities in it is that you can spend hours just examining all the small hidden details and Easter eggs as well that he has embedded in the painting. So look at
Okay, okay.
these
So
tiny
Yonatan.
figures. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your three favorite details of this painting?
First of all, the birds. I love the crows. I think they add another layer. They add a layer that it's not all fun and giggles. This is actually a very fragile environment. It's we're talking
Edgar
about
Allan Poe would have fun with this. Yeah.
we're talking about the 16th century. Life wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't brilliant. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have proper heating. They didn't have in industry. They didn't have any of these luxuries. They are dependent on these hunters and other harvests that they have, like whatever they're carrying on this wagon, for example. So the birds, they put us into perspective. So
Okay.
I like
So you like the
birds.
birds. What
Yeah.
else? Yeah. What's two more details you really like?
Well, I like the children playing, of course. If I were to pick a favorite, I would go with this one, who looks kind of.
Wow, that's really zooming in. Yeah, being dragged on the little sled there. That's a good
And
one.
this one was fallen.
I, yeah, it looks like that one's curled up and saying, that's all right. I'm giving up. I can't skate anymore. That's me. That's me on the skating rink. 'Cause
That's
I,
you.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, because I don't skate really well. Like, let me just curl up here and enjoy the ice. I don't want to knock anybody over. Okay, so that's two. Those
Yeah.
two kids. What's one more detail you really like?
I gotta love the hunters.
Which part? What about the hunters?
That you see the struggle, the way they're working, the another. By the way, we don't see faces, right? So we don't know their expression. Perhaps they're happy. Perhaps they're sad. This is another.
Oh, come on. You can tell from their
But you can, yeah,
posture,
you can tell.
right?
You can tell it wasn't. You can see
Yeah.
the dogs there. They're sad, as you said. So I like this part. I think this, in addition to the crows, make this picture interesting. This is what really takes it to the next level. It's not just a boring landscape. There is a story here,
Okay.
and this is I think what makes this picture. So it's the hunters, it's the birds, and the contrast with the people down there. I think those are the most
All right, so
important
you got these two kinds of groups of people, these two scenes. One, these hunters that are coming back kind of dejected. What do you imagine they might be thinking to themselves? Like, damn it, I wish we could have gotten more food from our hunt. Or
Yeah,
boy, that was a long trek through the woods.
Well, I think each one would say something slightly different. So I think perhaps who is the most who looks like he had the worst time. Look, he has.
I'm thinking the
he
one on
has
the
caught
right.
Something. Yeah, this one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he would be very miserable about his own journey, right? This one who looks, I'm assuming he's the leader of the hunters. So this guy, he's thinking about the welfare of the village, and I think he's thinking, we're gonna break some tough news for these guys. We will ruin the party, perhaps. They're looking at what's going on over there. Perhaps that's what he's thinking of.
All right, so you got this
Yeah.
contrast
Yeah.
between these hunters who are dejected coming back and then the people who are going about their Sunday afternoon having a wonderful time.
Yeah, before
So-
they're aware that there's
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a big deal, right? It's
I hope
They- I-
not, but life was tough. Life was tough in the 16th century.
That's true, but for these people right now, it seems pretty fun. But okay,
Right
but
now.
there is a contrast.
Uh huh.
So if you had to empathize with a character, who would it
Yeah.
be?
I would empathize first with the painter, with Bruegel. I would empathize with being, and I want to say something about the perspective before I explain the empathy. Notice that nobody's looking towards us. We are behind this entire event. Nobody is even, we barely see any faces. We're behind this. This is not, we're disconnected. There's a distance between us, the viewers, and whatever is happening there. And that's Bruegel's perspective, because Bruegel was an outsider. He was not a villager. He had a nice life, according to what I have gathered. His perspective reminds me of my perspective when I was going to Mexico. When I was in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
I was in this really beautiful small town called San Miguel de Allende. I was there with a good friend of mine, and I have a picture I can show you. We went to this restaurant,
Mhm.
and it was this broken down. Everything is like super old. Everything is not fancy at all. It's like a villager. It's like a peasant's place to eat. And I was looking at this scene, and when I was so enjoying, look at this simple way of living compared to what we're having in our more developed countries. And I think this is the perspective that Bruegel has. So this is how I empathize. I empathize with. I
So
was
you're a
in a.
visitor coming to this place
Mhm.
and taking a look at a kind of life that is different from yours.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Which is what this art was about.
Yeah. You know me, Yonatan. I like to personally connect to the characters in the painting. I really like your reflection on going to the cantina in Mexico. I like that a lot, and kind of encountering all these people that are there. And I would say I mean, I'm invited, and I definitely like put myself in the place of the hunters,
Hmm.
and it makes me think, okay, what's their situation? You had a long day, a day that didn't work out really well, you know.
Yeah.
Just like I taught 2 classes and they all bombed and the students revolted, and it was tough. And I'm coming home dejected. And when I come home, I see everybody's having a good time without me. And now I could have a couple different attitudes about this. I could say, boy, that sucks. Well, they're not going to know what I felt. Or I could say, I'm so glad that people are having fun, and the rough day I had is not going to matter.
Hmm.
Now, I can empathize with these characters, but it's kind of tougher to kind of see what their reaction is. It doesn't look like that they're particularly excited, like waving to the people.
Yeah.
Hey, Freddie, how are you? Oh, what a nice triple Lutz. No, it's not that,
Yeah,
right?
everybody in the scene, if you notice, is engaged in their own activities. They're not paying attention to each other. You have groups of people, and they're all together. They're not paying. The hunters don't look at the women cooking over there. The people who ice skate there, they don't look at the other ice skaters. Everybody is like in its own group.
Yeah.
So that's about your point. Yeah.
But I want to go back. You said that these figures are heroic, and in some way, I kind of like that for these hunters.
Hmm.
Even on this festive day, they've gone to go out and do the work, and they're coming back. It wasn't a good day at the hunt, but they're going to go back again.
Yeah.
And that idea that you got a role, and some days are going to be better than others, but part of this communal life here that they have is they're going to go do this work, and they've done it. And I would, you know what? If I were them, I would come back and I would see everybody celebrating, and I'd smile. I'd say, you know what? This is even the bad days of
Yeah.
hunting are worth it. I'm gonna keep going out because I love seeing kids fall in their butt when they're ice skating with their friends.
Yeah, this is what you're working for. This is the prize of going back and seeing your friends and family having a good time, right? I suppose you will also enjoy the hunting itself, right? But but yeah, I think that's
But
exactly
not on
it.
a day like this,
Yeah, not on a day like this, but you'll
when the
still be
only thing to catch are
reminded.
crows.
Yeah, but you're reminded of your mission, right? So it's maybe you'll feel better once you're back. You will feel worse on the way back. Now you've arrived, everything's it's much better. I think it's a fascinating. You said you had a hard time connecting with Bruegel.
Yeah,
Does this make it easier to connect this picture?
this picture does. Yeah, I there's something about Bruegel where oftentimes you get a lot of different characters, and it's who's the main character, and often the main character is kind of embedded in the painting. You don't really know him. You can't pick him out.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do like, and maybe this is a nice transition to the painting I'm going to share, is
Okay.
that Bruegel is very observant of the individuals within the masses of people that are in a community, and can kind of tell a little bit about their particular story. You notice that there are all these different groups
Right,
of people, and
right,
they each have something distinctive about them. How many different types of activities and groupings are there on the ice by itself?
yeah,
And so everybody's got a little bit of their own life, and they're carefully observed. And if you pay attention to one particular character in this mass, you can kind of connect, though the focus isn't on that one particular character. Like Michelangelo, the focus is on David. Like
right,
Caravaggio, you've got one character, you know you're focusing on them. You don't know
right,
that about Bruegel.
yeah.
You've got to kind
Eh,
of find the people to connect to.
Yeah, I love that point, and it reminds me of another contrast. If we think about the level of detail in Bruegel, and there are paintings, as you said, there's much more detail. There's a painting that I mentioned in my essay, children's games, where he shows like 100 different games that were popular amongst children then. And then think about an impressionist. Think about an impressionist approach to landscape, where it doesn't even show you. It doesn't even show you all these details. It doesn't show you anything. At best, it shows you some blurry faces. And think about the difference in
Yeah.
approach, the
Yeah.
difference in what's important. I think it's an interest, and it
Oh,
shows
I
how
like that comparison. Yeah, I
it
like that
shows how
comparison. You can just
relevant it
imagine.
is.
Yeah, you can just imagine like what would Monet do with this winter
Yeah, everything
landscape.
will be blurred. Everything will be
Yeah,
blurry, and
the effect,
then
it's the light. Yeah.
and
All right.
it'll be more interesting, I think, the Bruegel way. Okay, let us go for your painting. I'm
Okay.
excited.
So I've picked out a painting that I think is my favorite, Bruegel, and it's one that you're familiar with. But I want to invite you, Yonatan, to kind of um, forget everything that you know about this painting, and
Okay.
to approach it by immersing yourself in the details of what's going on, and to read it, to soak in all the details, to pick things out, to do the whole touch in the art thing. We're going to
Yeah,
immerse
yeah, yeah,
ourselves
yeah.
in it, and
Okay.
then also
Yeah.
to find a character to personally connect to, and to understand how we might empathize with that character.
Okay. That's
All right.
difficult. All right, let's do
That,
it.
that is difficult, especially for Bruegel, because how many? All right, what's the number of characters that are going to be in this painting? Minimum 75. You know, that's Bruegel. Okay, so here it is. Um, and can you see it?
Yes. Oh,
All right.
fantastic. Very glad you brought this one.
So, what's your initial title? And audience out there, what is your initial title for this painting?
Yes, guys, we need some more engagements. Okay, well, it's hard to detach what I already know about the name of the painting, but first initial title, The Party.
The party. Great. So, I'm going to follow up on that. Can you pick out three details of partying going on?
Yeah, there's the guy playing. I forgot the name of this instrument.
Some kind of bagpipe kind of
Yeah,
musical instrument.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His
And there are two of
expression
them.
is something. Um, I like the guy pouring the wine. I'd like to assume wine or beer.
Oh, it
Doesn't
must be
look like
beer, right?
yeah,
It's got to
beer.
be beer.
Yeah, this is like Flanders, like Belgium. They have great
Uh-huh.
beer, and it precedes this painting. So absolutely, they have beer. Um,
So he's got
he's
a bunch of basket full of mugs,
yeah,
and he's pouring beer into each one. Yeah.
yeah. That's a sign of party. What else do we have for party? I like the mass of people at the entrance. Like
Oh
they're coming
yeah.
in. They're coming
There's
in. It's
like,
gonna be
is there
bigger
room?
party.
Is there room?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Okay, how about two more details of partying?
Two more details. We have I love the woman just chugging the with the her cup there. On the back, you see the guy with the pipe. I'm pointing as if it means something. The guy with the pipe right across from him. There's a lady drinking like that. That's like,
Yeah.
she wants to get wasted. What
Okay.
else? Oh, I love the dog. You see the dog?
Ooh, where's the dog?
Can you spot the dog?
Yeah, this is Bruegel is a lot like that. You know Where's Waldo?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruegel is so much like Where's Waldo. Can you find the dog?
There it is. Your cursor is there, just below. Underneath
Oh,
it. Yeah.
the dog underneath the table, maybe waiting for scraps. Okay,
Yeah.
he looks like the one who's not having fun. That's like the anti-party
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
The guy there right next to him who is like handing the plates. I think that's another sign of party.
that's a good sign. Yeah, look at that. Did you notice what all those plates are on? And you get two flavors. You get brown or you get white. But it looks like everybody's enjoying it, especially that kid who's sitting on the ground, just
Yeah.
licking it up with a finger. So, but did you notice that the tray that they're using, what that tray is?
Yeah, it's like a piece of wood. Is it something in particular?
Look at the hinges. There were hinges on it.
Right. What does it mean?
It's a door.
It's a door.
They took a door
Right.
and said, you know what? We gotta have a huge tray for all these refreshments. So
Oh, I
it's
love
a
that.
huge door.
I love that.
Okay, and oh. So many details of partying. Oh, and do you notice where this is taking place? Is it a
This-
banquet hall? Is it a palace? Is it
Yeah,
is it
it's
a
like-
home?
It's like a very simple room. You see the walls are all beige.
Yeah, you know why they're beige?
It's hay. It's made of hay.
It's hay.
Yeah.
They're in a barn.
It's a barn. Fantastic. Yeah. They're having a party in the barn, eating
They're-
brown or white.
Yeah, everything's kind of tan. So much hay. Those are big hay bundles behind, and they're kind of prettying it up a little bit. They've got some slight decorations. Oh, the noise in here.
Oh, it's a racket. It's non-stop. They're chattering, they're yelling, you can hear maybe singing, you can hear maybe music they're playing as well.
Yeah.
If I'm hitting play, like everybody's moving. Everybody is moving about. There are more people coming in, they're handing out more plates. It's such a dynamic scene.
All right, Yonatan. Okay, who's having the most fun?
Who's having the most fun?
Is it this guy in the middle who is rearing back, maybe wanting more beer?
Can you zoom in on his face? It's quite the expression. I think the guy right across from him, who's like that eating.
Oh, the one kind of bug-eyed who's got sticking the spoon in his mouth, ignoring his friend who's trying to talk to him because he's enjoying. Oh, yeah, well, I guess he's really enjoying the food. All right, who else is having a lot of fun? Definitely that kid who's like enjoying the food too. Oh, maybe. Oh, we haven't looked at the group in the back here. I'm going to zoom into this group in the back.
Oh, look at the baby. I haven't noticed the baby. You see the baby?
Oh, the baby there too. Everybody's eating. Everybody's drinking.
Eating, drinking, playing.
Oh. All right. There's so much going on. Yonatan,
Yeah.
where would you be at this party?
I love that question. I would be probably I would be in a position similar to the bride.
All right. Now, that's interesting. So, my next question was going to be, who is the most quiet person here?
She is.
She is.
Yeah.
So you called her a bride. Why are you calling her a bride?
Well, it's a bit of a spoiler, but it's
No. But no matter what the spoilers are, there's something in the artwork.
Well,
You
yeah,
see-
she has this crown thing, and
She's got a crown.
she has the green behind her to signify she's the place, on the spotlight essentially, and you can see her smug experience. It's like she's in her own world. She's detached from what's going on because she's so ecstatic about her wedding.
All right. I'm this is the whole painting for me. And she's not, she's barely like, so tiny.
Yeah,
She's barely visible in all of this. But for me, she's the whole painting. She's the whole reason for this painting.
absolutely.
So you said a word, detached, and I really like that word here. Now, a little bit of background story.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no groom here. Apparently, this party is just for the bride,
Really?
and then the groom comes later. And you noticed, she's got a crown on,
Yeah.
and I guess she's sitting beside her mother, and she's got this kind of green drape as a backdrop that frames her. That's like her special banner, and then she's got a crown hovering over her,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is having fun, ignoring her. This is not the part of the party where there's speeches and she's the center of
Yeah.
attention, or it's like, her dance with her dad or whatever. Everybody's having a good time. And I'm going to zoom in so much on her right now. And so the question I'd have for you, Yonatan,
Yeah.
this is the personal connection, empathy question. When have you been to a party that was dedicated to you?
I have a good answer. It's
Now
an
I'm gonna hold on one moment, because I'm gonna add
Sure.
another layer to the connection.
Okay. Okay.
When have you been to a party that was dedicated to you, but
Mhm.
at that moment in the party, you were not the center of attention?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I have a perfect answer for you.
Oh, okay, go.
This is my birthday party, April 10th, 2023, in Athens, Greece. It was after a big conference we've had in Greece. It was my birthday, and friends of mine decided to. Well, they didn't decide. I said I wanted to throw a birthday party, and they organized. We had a whole restaurant. We had like 40, 50 people. All came from the conference to my birthday party, and I was sitting in one of the tables in the back, and I was just sitting there, and everybody's talking, everybody has their good time, right? And there were many such moments. I'm talking with the people in my table, right? But I'm disconnected from the entire surrounding. So I think it's kind of similar, because I was the center of attention, and there were moments where I gave a speech and all that, but like for most of the evening, I was in my table, with my friends surrounding me. I wasn't with everyone. I was disconnected with this whole thing. So you can imagine her talking to her mom, something like that, right? Or her mom kind of leaning into her or whispering something to her. So I think that's a good example.
So do you remember at that party, um, when you had the private moments, how you felt?
I felt great. I was like her. I was like, you know, I
Yeah.
didn't need to engage with everybody. I was just happy that we're having a good time here. We're in Greece. There's good food. I was happy that I said something, that I want to have a birthday party. Something I realized, perhaps a lesson for the viewers: if you want to have a birthday party, say you want to have a birthday party, and and say and be specific. Also, don't let people, they don't think about you. Nobody remembers that it's your birthday.
Okay, so Yonatan, I love that connection, because what you're describing is not just a party, but a party that was meant for you, and also and thinking of, it's a raucous party, 40, 50 people, 50 people in a restaurant. I can
Yeah, it was.
imagine the din in there going on, and the drinking, and the cavorting, and the having fun. And some people you know well, and some people you don't know at all, and they're all there just having a good time. And then you're also adding in that layer that, okay, there were moments of quiet, of private. And
Yeah.
I want to get into her mind right now.
Okay.
So I want to describe first her expression to get an understanding. I'm asking her the question, what are you feeling right now? And I'm looking at her, and she is by herself. There's nobody talking to her. She's in her own mind. Her eyes, I've been wondering about this. I think they're kind of half closed. Kind of not closed like shutting it off, but kind of half closed like in her own world, imagining something for herself. And she's got this smile and these ruddy cheeks. So I'm wondering, what is this bride to be imagining or thinking about right now?
Her husband.
Can you give her a quote?
A quote. I think it's more like deep thinking about what's going to happen in the coming days.
So quote her thoughts. Give them words. And for the audience out there, Yonatan, you know this, but every character I've seen in artwork, and for the audience, give the character a quote to bring the drama to life even more.
The quote is like, "I can't wait to see him."
I can't wait to see him. And I can see that. I can see that. I can't wait to see him. And can you imagine her thinking that in the middle of this party?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
She is now like, she's in her own bubble. And I love that feeling and that thought that no matter what's going on around you, you are in your own world with something that matters more to you. There's a big celebration in her honor, but that's not the most important thing in her life right now. The most important thing in her life at this moment is contemplating this new future that she looks absolutely delighted by.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
When I think of, I hope I have many parties that I attend, and sometimes there's going to be a very distinctive meaning to that party, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a birthday, whether it's some kind of award or celebration. I will look for a bride moment like this, a moment where I'm pausing and thinking to myself, what is the meaning of this party that I'm having right now?
That's really
and
beautiful.
for her, we see that clearly.
It's very, very beautiful. Look, I love that. I think it's such a good example of how art extends our kind of perspective. It kind of adds another layer. Like, we're now thinking about having such a moment when we have a deep introspection about what we love about this, what does it signify to us, and we can be more specific about what kind of moments we want to have in our lives. We can look for it. We can see this painting and we can think to ourselves, I want to be in such a scene in my next party. I want to do everything I can do to make sure that I can do that, right? And that art gives us this another layer. Perhaps I'm lacking good words to describe this look, but it widens us.
I like that phrase. I like it. It widens us. It widens the scope of the potential experiences that we can look forward to having, to make us more aware of the kinds of experiences to have in the future. Now you talked about something in your past that you could connect to, but then you're now aware of this kind of moment. Maybe I'll call it like the being in your own world, recognizing the meaning of a celebration while everybody else celebrates around you, and you can go forward thinking about this kind of moment. Okay, anything else you want to point out about this artwork that you like before we kind of think about Bruegel as a whole, connecting these two paintings?
Well, it has so much there, right? There's so much to discuss, and we couldn't possibly cover it all in under an hour, right? What really stands out to me is how groundbreaking this is. And we don't understand it when we just see it, but this is huge.
Wait, what do you mean by this? How groundbreaking this is? Do you mean this particular painting or Bruegel?
This painting and Bruegel more generally. Nobody painted that. Nobody went to these peasants. Nobody captured their lives. This is a great source of how their lives were. And he finds immense importance in, because he decides to paint it, right? He selects this scene. He thinks there's something to learn from it. He's fascinated by their simple lifestyle, They eat simple stuff like porridge or whatever they're eating. They're playing on
It
these
must be sweet. Whatever it is, it must be sweet.
must be sweet. They're playing on these silly instruments. They're drinking beer that must be not really great beer, and they're sitting in a barn, and they're consuming food like savages. But there's something there. There's beauty there. There's something that we should think about. It's interesting. They're having a good time. They're happy.
Can I just one anecdote that I remember from Bruegel's life. I don't know how accurate this is, and I think in your essay on Bruegel, you mentioned how there's very little known about him. But the anecdote that I remember is that he and his friend would often disguise themselves as peasants, because you mentioned, he lives in Antwerp and he's pretty successful and he's educated, but they would disguise themselves as peasant and go out into the country and crash weddings. They would infiltrate weddings, and there he would do sketches.
Mm-hmm.
So what would often happens is, if somebody came up to him and said, who are you? Are you with the bride or the groom? They would answer the opposite of the person who was asking. So in order to hide themselves and make sure that they weren't kicked out of weddings. But you can imagine maybe Bruegel and his friend kind of being in among the crowd there, kind of taking in the sights of all these various people and being interested in every single distinct homely face that there is here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these are kind of silly and grotesque sometimes.
Yeah.
But he is so observant that he also picks up on individual little nuggets of beauty and sincerity, like the bride to be.
Yeah, the sincerity, I think, is the prime thing about his art. Sincerity, honesty, first-handedness is one of the most incredibly first-handed painters to ever have lived, and that's another reason why I say I think he's one of the most interesting ones, because he had his own unique approach, which is something you cannot say as much. You can say it on Caravaggio. It was groundbreaking, right? But he did not question, like, what kind of subjects are we going to paint? He painted the same biblical scenes as they painted before. And Bruegel saw that. He said, okay, I'm going to do this. Can you imagine going to Rome and then going to paint this?
Well, okay, let me ask you this. I want to ask this question. We've got these two paintings, one of the hunters in the snow and this one of the wedding feast. What do you see as similar? And sometimes I like to play a game. Can you think of 3 words that connect the two? But what do you see as similar? And if you want to think of 3 words that seem to connect these two paintings together, what would you say?
So the perspective, first of all.
What do you mean by the perspective?
We are also behind the scene here. The hunters, everything is happening in front of us. It's the same here. The difference is we're much closer here, and we are inside under the same roof as they are. So we have intimacy. It appears different, but when you actually think about it, everybody's in front of us. We are in the back.
I see. And you know what? In a similar way that the two figures who are there serving the door tray of porridge dishes have their backs turned to us, the hunters had their backs turned to us. We're kind of like coming into the scene and observing it from, we're standing over here in the side wall looking into the depth of this barn, a little bit like the hunters. They're looking into the depth of the village going down into the valley. All right.
Yeah.
that
Another thing
perspective.
that's very important here is composition. This is a very rare type of composition. It's horizontal. It's not horizontal.
Wait, are you talking about as a similarity to the other painting, or just by the self here?
His approach to composition is innovative. Here, you have this table, and it kind of divides the painting into two sides. You have this side of the table and the other side of the table, and in a similar fashion, and he uses that to tell the story here. There's what's going on there. There's what's going on here. And how they interact. The same thing happens in Hunters in the Snow. You have this part, and then you have the city part, and there's a contrast between them. So that's another similar thing that he is using. It's kind of his method is to portray the story and what's going on. So he uses
Okay.
perspective, or he uses composition, and to tell the story. And the color also, I think, the way everything is yellow, everything is kind of it gives you this sense of poor. They're not rich. You see how also the ground, the walls, everything is yellow. And in a similar way, the hunters, everything is white, so it gives you the feeling of the snow, of the cold. So he uses the color, he accentuates the color, because their bodies are also kind of yellow. You know, they're more yellow than they might have appeared. So he uses color also, he takes creative liberty to convey the story using color. So I think these are the prime characteristics that really define, and you find it across the board in a lot of his works.
All right, so you're describing three kind of stylistic elements that seem to be consistent. I'm looking at the kinds of stories, the content, and I'm seeing everyday life. I think you've mentioned that.
Right. Yeah.
This is not grand dukes or saints or mythology. I'm also looking at very distinctive characteristics on these people's faces and their activities. Everybody's just as like when we're looking down at that pond, frozen pond, and all the different kinds of fun activities going on. Here we're looking at this this banquet, and we're seeing a variety of different people engaging in different kind of fun activities.
Yeah.
So the real interest in seeing distinctive groupings or individuals having a good time in their raucous way, a plethora of them.
Yeah.
And maybe
if I may interject, he's showing us facets of life. He shows us real life. He, as we said, he was in Rome. He said, no, this is real life. This is what life is like. We're not Greek gods, right? We have these people, and they're kind of ugly, and they're kind of grotesque, but that's life. That's the way it is. And here I'm showing it to you in your face. And that
you know what? Maybe he does. I would say he says you've got these grotesque and ugly people, but you also have, these are ordinary people. You've got some that are kind of fancy, like over here on the side. You have kind of maybe a little bit more aristocratic person who's got a sword, and he's talking to what might be a monk. But you also have rather beautiful moments.
Right.
She is not a classical beauty, but she is dressed up beautifully, and the moment that she's experiencing is one of beauty here. Can I get to the soul of Bruegel by asking you a strange question?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, if I were to imagine Caspar David Friedrich with me, and we were trying to plan our weekend together, I might say, "Hey, Caspar, what are you gonna do this weekend?" He might say, "Let's go to a mountain and stare out over the vast beyond." If I were maybe talking to Delacroix, the artist we did last time, and I said, "Hey, Delacroix, how about we do something this weekend?" He might say, "Let's go to a protest rally or to a rodeo."
Yeah.
Now, if you were to ask Peter, Peter Bruegel, the elder Peter, let's go do something this weekend, what do you think he'd want to do with you?
He would want to go to a village and observe the weird life that they're having.
You want to go to a village and observe the weird life that they're having? Yeah. Yeah, I bet he'd probably go to Mexico with you, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would come to Mexico, right?
Yep, he wouldn't go to the art museum with me. He would say, "Hey, Luke, there's a county fair. Let's go to the county fair, and let's we're not there necessarily for the games. There'll be all kinds of booths and games and rides, but let's go look at the people."
Yeah, let's sketch out all the different types of games and all the different types of activities we observe there.
Yeah. Do you think he'd be fun to hang out with?
I think he has a good sense of humor. Absolutely, it'll be very funny. I think generally speaking, his art is the funniest. You don't find much humor in art history. He is the
I
best
know, like
example.
the two painters that we've done so far, Caspar
Yeah.
David Friedrich and Eugène
No
Delacroix.
sense of
That's
humor. He took life kind of lightheartedly, I think we can infer from that. So I think it'll be funny from that perspective. He is obsessed with details. I assume he has some OCD. So that's always a bit difficult to deal with. But still, it's... I think it'll be fun because of his sense of humor. That's the most important thing.
all right. Well, let me ask one final question here. What's the funniest detail you see in this scene?
Ah, it has to be the guy with his face like that.
The
This guy with the not the guy eating, the guy who's looking. He's
the guy who's looking right here.
no,
This
no,
one.
right below him with the hat, with the green
Oh,
hat.
this one right here.
Yeah.
Who's raising his head up from
Yeah,
his
he's-
mug to say something to somebody, and
he's
it's not clear who.
hilarious. His face is hilarious. You can
Yeah.
see hair from his nose. I think you can see that.
You want to see the hair in his nose? All right, that's
You can the mole here.
that's a shadow. That's a shadow. That's
a
a
shadow.
shadow.
Okay.
But you can kind of
But
see
he has the mole here. That's a nice detail, isn't it?
that. I wonder if that might be sideburn. But he does have like these teeth that are kind of
His jawline is
yeah.
interesting.
All right. No, that's
But there are
that's
many
good.
funny scenes. Yeah, I think the player, the bagpipe player, has a funny look. He looks out of place. He doesn't know what he's doing here. He was just invited here to play, and he's just in a bit of awe. If you can zoom in on him, look, it'll be very
Yeah.
clear. He's like looking, but he's like that. He's a bit shocked, perhaps. He's not used to that kind of savagery, perhaps.
Oh, that's a harsh word. I'm just thinking this is a raucous good time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think we can wrap up. Any final thoughts on
I
Bruegel?
I think it was a brilliant discussion, Luke, and I really think we brought life into his already filled with life works, and hopefully for the view, I learned a lot of new things. Hopefully for the viewers, this is enticing for you to go and explore Bruegel, go and plunge into these worlds. One of the things I wrote in my essay, these are universes. Each painting has so much in it that you can spend so much time exploring, and it's every painting is unique. Everything is very original, is groundbreaking, is innovative in so many ways that we've discussed only a handful of such ways. There are many more. I think it's a fascinating painter. He's not a romantic painter, right? This is not romantic realism, but not everything has to be romantic realism. Sometimes we can just have some fun with these peasants, right? This is doesn't have
There's
to
your
be.
tagline. There's your tagline for the podcast. Sometimes we can have fun with these peasants.
Yeah, I've had enough. Like Bruegel, I'm having enough of these, like perfect, a man as ideal as you start to have enough of that at some point. How much can you have that? Everyone is like a Greek god. It's all perfect. It's not real. Bruegel is about making it real. This is life, There are some. As we said, they touched on a very personal point. For example, with what I said about the birthday, and there are many such instances. So each artist has a unique. Each good artist has a unique thing about life that he's going after. Raphael is amazing, right? Caspar David is amazing, and Bruegel is also amazing. Each in his own unique way, and it's important that we explore each individual approach. Look.
All right. May I do a little bit of self-promotion in that vein?
Of
So it's
course.
been a lot of fun with you doing these artists that are part of the canon that are art historically significant, and then examining them and looking closely at what's the soul behind the significance. And part of what I love to do is to try to unearth artists that are unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So if you in the audience have enjoyed these discussions, I'm giving a course on an artist, a single class on an artist, and it's going to be part of the series, but an artist that you probably never heard of before, named Eleanor Fortescue Brickdale. And she is a 19th, 20th century painter who, a little bit like Bruegel, is very attentive to a variety of different characters, but she's also very attentive to a very distinct kind of story, often a dramatic story and often a very uplifting, benevolent story. And it's a painter that I'd never heard of before till this past year. And so if you are interested, go to touchingtheart.com
I
slash
put the
courses.
link in the chat. You can see it in the live chat and also in the description. So absolutely. And when is that, Luke? I didn't quite get it.
Next week. So there'll be a couple sessions next week, Thursday and Sunday.
So it'll be you'll accommodate for both European and American time, right?
That's right.
Excellent.
That's right.
So do check it out, dear viewers, and remember to like and leave us a comment. I'll be curious to hear any feedback or new revelations. Perhaps we got everything wrong. So I'll be curious.
I don't think so. No. We did not get everything wrong.
No, of course
I
not.
got everything right. And I got everything right for my experience of the artwork.
That's right. Okay, excellent. So, Luke, it's been an immense pleasure, and looking forward to the next time, next iteration of the Dead Artist Society. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Yonatan.
Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. See you later. Auf Wiedersehen.